Welcome to the Inventory Control Program, a user-friendly, feature-rich software that can be used for retail sales billing with barcode interface. It can maintain real-time records of purchase and sales invoices of multiple stores of own firm with item-specific and store-specific transactions, stock balance, and net worth. Unless inventories are controlled, they are unreliable, inefficient, and costly. Direct costs of carrying inventory include costs of storage, insurance, and taxes. Also includes cost of money tied up in inventory due to obsolete items. Highlights of INCS: complete inventory and invoice management, inward and outward reports by store, by project, by customer supplier, by date range, by payment mode, cash, due, check, or by card. Comprehensive purchase order generation, auto generation of item numbers and invoices with date time stamp. Benefits include maintaining a wide assortment of stock but not spreading the rapidly moving ones too thin, increasing inventory turnover but not sacrificing the service level, keeping stock low but not sacrificing service or performance, obtaining lower prices by making volume purchases but not ending up with slow moving inventory. Simultaneous data entry, including retail billing from multiple counters up to 10 nodes on the LAN, is possible. The small file size of less than 10 MB allows for efficient backup and retrieval. Increase in file size can be contained by exercising option of stock initialization. Track inventory in multiple warehouses. Flexibility includes usage-based flexi pricing model, easy migration to software updates. Items can be identified with corresponding images. Adaptable currency and net invoice amount in words. User definable fields on bills like logo of firm, currency name, etc. Flexible screen size. Details of additional features of the software are provided in the help guide. Let us now quickly embark upon a hands-on experience. The software can be downloaded from gennextonline.com. Extract the .rar zipped file in a folder. Ensure application folder path does not have spaces. Images folder resides in application folder and contains sample files to depict images of inventory items and logo of firms. Passwords for admin and user are NextGen and GenNext respectively, both case insensitive. Software has been created in 64-bit version of MS Access 2019 on Windows 11 platform. It's a trial come deploy version that allows 5 trial logins of 4 hours duration each, followed by registration to enable sets of 300 logins of 4 hours duration each. In the LAN mode of operation, the software .accde file can reside in a shared folder in the main machine and can be simultaneously accessed by up to 9 client machines, each registered with a machine-specific key. Prompts to renew registration will be displayed in the last 20 remaining logins. Couple of important settings in Access are required before we begin. Open Access application, go to Options, Trust Center, Trust Center settings, macro settings, and enable all macros. Then come to client settings, go to confirm, ensure that record changes is unchecked. First, we look at sample data already entered for demonstration. Subsequently, we will see steps to delete sample data in order to start the trial come deploy version from scratch. Let us log in to the admin section first by keying in the password nextgen. Sample data has been entered with add new, descending from top to bottom. First, we add own firm particulars. Firm name is required, which is marked with an asterisk, and branch is optional. Firm ID is case insensitive and auto-generated. It has to be unique for the record to be saved. Similarly, other firm particulars of suppliers or customers are filled. Fields are provided to facilitate generation of custom invoices and reports by modifying captions and own firm particulars. For instance, we have the caption for tax as GST. Let us remove the newly created category. Next step is to add categories, which could be either inventory or invoice. Once we select inventory, we have two levels of classification. On creation of inventory category, a category code is assigned. Inventory categories are necessary to add items. Drop-down combo to view existing categories is handy while creating a new category, since duplication of categories is forbidden. Next, we add items by selecting corresponding category code. The latest category code is on top of the drop-down menu. An optional image file can be associated with the item, which resides in application subfolder named images. Each new item is associated with a unique item code that is auto-generated sequentially. Next, we add categories for invoices, either purchase or issue. Purchase invoices are inward entries and add to stock balance. Issue invoices are outward entries synonymous to sales, where stock balance reduces. Once we select purchase, we have to enter the store, the project, and an invoice number sequentially, either on a daily basis or yearly basis. The invoice date stamp is auto-generated. Thus, invoice number in conjunction with invoice date is a unique identifier field for any transaction. Inventory is tracked separately for each store of own firm. To populate data into invoice categories, we click Invoice tab. Invoices can be created, modified, and printed through a single interface. As the form opens, focus is on the invoice combo. A three-state toggle for purchase invoice, issue invoice, and retail sales is achieved by pressing Ctrl and T for Tango buttons. Alternately, invoice combo caption can be clicked to change the type of invoice. Sample data is entered assuming own firm Jagdish has two stores. Currently, we have two sample purchase invoices with category codes 3 and 4 with details of opening balance of stores 1 and 2 respectively. Let us select category code 4 pertaining to initial stock of store 2 and add a new item called pump 1. Before we add pump 1, we can see quantity available in stock is 0. Also, stock balance in tree view reflects deficit of pump 1. There is no pump 1 here. Once item is added, serial 4 is automatically assigned. Now we can see two pumps are available in stock and the same can be monitored in tree view as well. In a purchase invoice, new items can always be included. Also, quantity of existing items can always be increased. If an item is repeated, then the quantity gets incremented. If, for example, we add one more pump, then stock balance becomes 3. Let us now revert back to original sample data by either modifying the quantity to 0 . We cannot make it 0, so we will make it 1 and see the alteration. Net dues will be reflected in case I update it once again. If it happen to be on payment mode dues, then it will show as dues. I can use the record selector to delete it. Deletion is allowed here since none of the pumps belong to any issue invoice yet. Thus, in a purchase invoice, quantity can be decreased directly by altering quantity field or by deleting the item. However, software ensures the net quantity inward does not fall below the already issued, that is outward net quantity. In such case, error is flagged and alteration or deletion is aborted. For example, with respect to the same purchase invoice having category code 4, store 2 has an initial stock of fan table with quantity 2. However, due to certain issue invoices, currently the item is out of stock. In such case, deletion of the item using record selector is not allowed by software. Delete is cancelled as stock will go negative. For issue invoices, the customer name is optional. It is required only when items are issued on credit, that is, when the payment mode is reflected as due. Credit transactions from a particular store are accumulated by customer for a certain project. For category code 7, customer is Shiv and it is a credit transaction towards project 1. But in category code 8, for same customer Shiv, net dues is shown as 0 as this is a cash transaction for a different project 2. Customer dues can be cleared by specifying range of dates in reports menu, as we will see later. Let us examine issue invoice with category code 5 pertaining to store 1 and project 1. As we can see, there is only one fan ceiling in stock and rest all are issued. Now, if quantity is increased from 1 to 3, we get a warning, issue cancelled as stock deficient. Quantity can be increased from 1 to 2, but it is a credit transaction. Then we have to reaffirm the payment mode for updating net dues. Now we can see the net dues has changed to 630 from 315. Consider issue invoice with category code 8. Currently, one LED and one fan ceiling are in stock of store 2. Let us delete the existing entries in the invoice by selecting both records in one go. Now inventory levels for both items have increased to 2. Now let us add the 2 items again. Again the inventory levels have dropped from 2 to 1 each. Now the serial numbers can be altered as necessary. The latest serial number always stays on top. Captions for CST, GST, rebate and payment mode can be modified as desired in own firm particulars and other firm particulars for purchase and issue invoices respectively. Retail sales is a subset of issue invoices. In this mode, issue invoice categories are auto-generated with incremental category codes and invoice numbers by clicking Next Invoice. The date time stamp each time makes the invoice category unique. It facilitates rapid billing and instant updating of inventory balance. Let us consider retail sales category code 9. This category was created on 27 July starting with invoice number 1. Category code with invoice number 2 of the same date was automatically generated by pressing Next Invoice. So, if there are 2 customers in queue and after entering few items, customer 1 decides to visit the store to collect additional items, billing for next customer can be addressed. Data entry for customer 1 can be subsequently resumed by selecting the previous invoice. In retail sales mode, customer identity is not important. Hence, issued to field is optional. In general, if it is a purchase or sales transaction on credit with payment mode reflected as say due, the purchase from field in case of a purchase invoice and issued to field in case of a sales invoice cannot remain empty. A name has to be selected from the combo drop-down list of names available in customers and suppliers database. Net dues are reflected for any customer with respect to a particular store and project. If the project happens to be retail sales, then dues for retail sales of that store are shown for a particular customer. It is convenient for a regular customer to make a one-time payment at the end of month. In the invoice form, fields in pink can only be modified. Feature to adjust the subform display height is provided to monitor data entry. We can click on increase or Alt R, and we can decrease by clicking or by Alt D. We can use lookup to quickly search and select an item. Then we can view its image. All images linked to inventory items must reside in images folder of application folder, whereas all own firm store logo files must reside in application folder itself and not in the images folder. Selection of item is in barcode acceptance mode by default. However, by clicking on the caption or by pressing Ctrl key with focus on item selection combo, one can toggle item selection between barcode mode for scanner interface and category mode for manual entry. This is a barcode interface, and this is the item by manual selection. Details of slab-wise tax breakdown is provided in the invoice. For example, GST rates at various tax slabs are displayed here. Printing of purchase and sales invoices are configured to show total amount in words and tax details as well. Retail sales invoices have short printouts. Custom fields in reports can take shape based on text from own firm particulars and other firm particulars, including the company logo. Once currency type is modified, it reflects in invoice. Nomenclature of various taxes can be changed, allowing for adaptability and universal use. Fields without inputs are blanked. For example, if there is no discount offered, it does not appear in the invoice. So here the discount is 0. Therefore, in the printout also we don't find the discount appearing. These reports can be closed by pressing either the escape button or Ctrl plus F4, even in the Access runtime version where right-click menu is disabled. Reports can be saved in many formats, including Word, PDF, and XPS. They can be closed by pressing Ctrl F4. I pressed Ctrl F4 and it closed. In runtime version, though right-click menu is disabled, but Ctrl plus F4 closes any active window. One can always close it by the right-click menu. We can press Ctrl P or use right click to print a report. Ctrl P also brings out this particular menu to print. The report can be saved as a .rtf file, which can actually be opened in MS Word and renamed as a .docx file. To export as a .rtf file, we double click on the report. A macro fires and .rtf lands in My Documents folder by default. The macro fires again, prompting for path and file name to save a copy. This is true for all reports even while working in Access Runtime mode, which is available for free and can be downloaded from Microsoft website. The Quick Access toolbar at the left top corner can unhide and hide by clicking and double clicking respectively the Inventory Control main menu caption. QAT can be customized to have a shortcut to publish a report either as a PDF or XPS file. For instance, if we want to publish this particular report as a .pdf file, we can save it as a .pdf by using the QAT. The runtime version of Access does not support the QAT. The runtime mode can be simulated by renaming the .accde file extension to .accdr. In TreeView, as we have seen, we click on Print Inventory Categories to get a complete report of inventory classification. Now, after selecting Own Store, TreeView can be accessed for inventory and invoice details. If Own Store combo is left blank, then overall stock details based on TreeView selection, including the net worth, are displayed on the right pane and can be printed. Invoice details are displayed on two panes to the right. However, when a specific store is selected in the Select Store combo, then the right pane shows stock balance for that particular store depending on combination of combos selected in TreeView and can be printed. Deleting the selected store from combo and again pressing enter reverts to overall inventory status on right side pane. If necessary, data in right pane can also be filtered and then printed. Reports on invoices are not generated in TreeView. The Initialize Stock button can be exercised to avoid crowding of unwanted transactions in the database. First, we archive the transactions by keeping a backup of the file. On pressing this button, All purchase and sales transactions for the chosen branch or store will be accounted for and replaced with one invoice purchase initial stock denoting opening balance with invoice number 1 and the current date. Fresh transactions can be added thereafter. Let us see how to generate a purchase order. First, let us prepare a list of deficient items for Jagdish Store 2. With focus on the quantity field, we filter and obtain list of items having quantity nil and print as a .rtf file. Subsequently, a temporary purchase order can be created for Jagdish Store 2 based on the deficiency list generated. Once items are received, the temporary purchase invoice can be modified with actual data from sales invoice of the vendor. Let us see how to track inventory. Various reports can be obtained based on selection criteria and optional selections as indicated. We can print the aggregate purchase or issue of items by store, by project, which could also be an order reference, and by date range. At times, a particular item may be reported as defective. To track the item by customer and item code, we must enter all fields and click the Track Specific Item button. By clicking on left or right of the record in the report so generated, we can view the corresponding invoice. However, to modify the invoice, we note the category code in this report, which is 10, and then enter the invoice menu for necessary modifications. Let us now see how to track payments and receipts. Fields marked with an asterisk are required. Details of payments and receipts can be meticulously tracked by appropriately selecting transactions for a range of dates. For example, let us track all sales transactions for store 1 for a particular customer, say Shiv. Data shows project-wise details of sales by cash and by credit. Credit implies payment is due. Specific details of each invoice can be viewed and printed by clicking on the left of category code or to the right of grand total. Same applies for all the reports. If an item is purchased or issued for a project with or without vendor or customer name, then details of invoice pertaining to the item can be obtained by entering own store and tentative date range. From the report so generated, we can view the invoice by clicking on either side of the record. We can also note the category code and go to Invoice menu for any required modification. User login is with password GenNext. Here, data entry is disabled and there is no provision to print. However, screenshots can be taken. Let us now examine steps to erase sample data and start from scratch. Inventory categories can be removed only when all invoice items are deleted. To remove invoice items, we can go to each invoice and delete entries, which is a tedious process. Instead, a better approach is to use the feature to initialize stock, which takes into account all transactions and reduces the number of invoices to only one purchase invoice initial stock, which is also the opening balance per store. Now, for instance, we select Jagdish Store 1 and perform the stock initialization. Before doing so, we are supposed to make a copy for backup of the file in case we wish to reduce the number of transactions and the file size as well. Here we are trying to erase the sample data. Now the net stock balance for Jagdish Store 1 has been compiled as a single purchase invoice initial stock. Same way we carry out the process for the second store. And yet another purchase invoice initial stock is compiled for the second store. Now we go to invoice menu and select that particular purchase invoice which is recently created, and then we can delete all the items. Alternately, all records can be deleted by just holding and dragging the record selector and using right click to cut. Subsequently, we go to same thing we perform for the other invoice for the other store. Then we go to modify items and see that the quantity of all the items has been turned to 0. Now all of these items can be deleted. In one go. Next, corresponding inventory categories or all categories can be deleted by entering modify categories menu. Lastly, we go to suppliers and customers database and delete the entries, and same we do for own stores. Now we have an empty database to start from scratch. After payment of base price as mentioned in the registration form, a snapshot of the log code displayed on registration form is to be sent to GenNext to obtain key. Each time the registration form is opened, the log code is different and so is the key. Therefore, the registration form should be kept active till the corresponding key is obtained through instant messaging like WhatsApp. Once activated, the licensed version allows 300 logins of 4 hours duration each. Prompts to renew registration will be displayed in the last 20 remaining logins. After 300 logins, the registration form is displayed again with a self-explanatory bill summary that takes into account weights based on the number of entities, their value, and number of transactions. Once update software option is exercised, all existing data is transferred to file update.accde provided by GenNext and residing in the same application folder. Thereafter, update.accde can be renamed and used further. In case of loss of password, a reset key that restores the default password can be obtained from GenNext. Simplification of tax structures is a great incentive, especially for small traders and shopkeepers to track, account, and administer stores all by themselves with associated benefits of greater transparency and easier tax compliance. INCS is compact at just about 5 megabytes in size, user-friendly, and exploits the immense potential of modular VBA code for tracking inventory of multiple warehouses and related transactions. Thanks for watching this video. It is left to the ingenuity of the user to take best advantage of various features in the software. Kindly share the video if you like it. Comments and suggestions are welcome through email or WhatsApp. Details are available on website gennextonline.com.